Oh,
Good afternoon, good evening. Let's get a little centered here.
There you go.
Okay, very good.
yourself centered.
Yeah, I get myself centered. I don't think it's exactly straight, but that's okay. All right, everybody, welcome to the next class. Parshat Eikev, the third parsha in the book of Deuteronomy.
I am not late.
And Ira's not late. When I add that, we're very proud of Ira for being not late. Not that he was on time. Wasn't late. Only
Well,
because
he's not late either.
the rabbi wasn't on time, so he's not late.
I notice you're taking things to a higher level. You've got a ladder leaning against the building.
Yeah, because I had to go. There was a leak. I had to go. I'm not just a rabbi. I'm also the repairman.
I'm also a roofer.
Exactly.
I did that in my youth.
Yeah. Well, we all got to do it. Okay. Here we go. So, one of the problems that non-observant people have with Judaism or with religion in general is, do you really think the big guy in the sky cares so much about little details? That's the big question. I'm with Michael J. That's one of the things that really bother a lot of people. If God is so great, why does he care about the small details? And I mean, I don't know about other religions. I can't speak about other religions, but we know, Pesach and Sukkot and Yom Kippur. It gets down to real minutia. I remember once I was walking in Israel, and there was a guy walking with multiple pairs of tzitzis. I was a young stupid kid. Now I'm older and stupid, but so now I don't have an excuse. Then I had an excuse. So I see this guy.
Oh, you wanted to keep warm.
So I asked the guy. I asked somebody. I said, "What's?" And when I say multiple pairs of tzitzis, I don't mean one or two. I mean, he had to be wearing 20, 30 pairs. I mean, when you go to
Maybe he sells them.
Exactly.
Just like the guy who opens his things and want to buy a watch.
Exactly, maybe. So I asked somebody, and he said because there are multiple opinions about the kashrut of tzitzis, and he wants to take it. He wants to make sure he fulfills it, so he wears. I had no idea. I thought there were two, or three. I had no idea there were that many opinions. So I mean, if you really want to get into the nitty gritty, Judaism is full of nitty gritty, a lot of nitty gritty, and the problem is sometimes we get overwhelmed by the nitty gritty. That's,
Shabbos.
Shabbos is another great example.
Cooking.
And I'm learning with Michael J. One of the 39, yeah, and we're only 5 pages in, right? And that 5 pages in is an abridged version. It's not even the extended version, right? So Judaism has a lot of nitty gritty, and the question is, how do we keep focused? I mean, this is a life skill as well, because sometimes we lose focus and we lose hope. Oh, we're on the wrong way. Okay, here we go. And so the question is, how do we stay in the straight and now? How do we remain productive? Or as the question on page 52 is, because the answer is you have to have a common core, you have to have a common denominator, you have to have a foundation. That this is your mission statement. Every business has to have a mission statement. Every business has to have a goal. What service are they trying? It's true you do a bunch of different things, but when businesses go off track and they get caught in other things, every once in a while you have to think about what are we trying to accomplish. So I mean, I know it's not yet, but in 3 weeks, what's today? Today is the 13th day. The 13th day of the month of Av. So in less than 3 weeks, in 17 days. In 17 days, no, I didn't, but. It's 17 days is Rosh Chodesh Elul, which means Rosh Hashanah is coming, and the month of Elul is an accounting. You look back, you do a personal inventory. In this year, did I lose focus? Did I get involved in, I'm a rabbi? Am I working too much on the roof? Or am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Huh?
Just you reminded me, I better look for my chauffeur.
Yeah, we get that. So the question is, what do you consider to be the central element? The central element in your life. There's one thing, one theory that grounds everything we do. Okay. So obviously, being that this is a Torah class, the answer is going to be connected to God and to the Eibishter. The question is, how do we serve the macro without getting the micro? So again, one of the things that sometimes people make a mistake. They'll feel, oh, if I did this wrong, so therefore it cancels out in everything else, or I can't do this mitzvah, so therefore why bother doing everything else? Or I have trouble with this restriction. I don't. So why bother even observing everything else? So that is obviously not the correct approach to serving Hashem. So the answer is going to be in short, and then we'll explore in detail. Is you always have to keep in mind who you're serving, why you're doing what you're doing. Because to use a line, I'll steal a line from a different rabbi. It's a great line, so I'll use it. So sometimes you can be 100% observant and not think about God. You put on tefillin, you keep Shabbos, you keep kosher, but you forget who you're doing it for. And then after a while, it gets very burdensome, and sometimes it could result in walking away, or in using one area, because there's basically two areas of Torah. There's God and there's humanity. So it's basically it's split into
before who you stand.
Exactly, or know who you're serving, right? So today's Hayom Yom, the day to day, is a very, very good one. So the Alter Rebbe says that obviously Yisrael, love of a fellow Jew, is an explanation of love of Hashem. So now, how is it possible for a religious Jew to be mean and nasty to another Jew? You're a religious Jew. You learn Torah. You know what I'm saying? So the question is, we're not getting into like individual examples. How is it possible for a religious Jew to mistreat another person, another Yid? The answer is basically going to be because the person forgot who exactly you're serving here. What are you doing it for? Sometimes we can get so caught up in the details. Whether I'm wearing 32 pairs of tzitzis or 33, and you forget what it's all about. So I'll tell you a story. This is more related to the middle of the class, but I'll tell you a story. There was the rabbi, the father of the Musar movement. His name was Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, and he was very scrupulous and careful about baking matzah. He would always supervise the baking of the matzah, which is very, very common for rabbis who were very careful. They wanted to view the matzah. In fact, but it's not only the great rabbis. I remember as a kid, and they still do it today. Different groups of people can bake matzah. It doesn't mean you bake the matzah. You add a stringency. You stand in the matzah bakery. You help out. You give. You pass the sticks around. And by the way, they charge you extra to be there. They're not doing anything different. You're not doing it. They charge you extra to be there.
Just like a mechanic.
Right.
If you're going to watch, they're going to charge you.
Yeah.
And if you're going to help, they're going to double.
So and you have to reserve. Yeah. So one time Rabbi Yisrael was sick, and he couldn't make it to the matzah bakery. So some of his students, went in instead. So they asked the rabbi, we're doing it on your behalf. What should we be very careful? What area? So he said, the woman who rolls the dough is an almana, is a widow. Make sure you treat her nice. Make sure you don't scream at her. Because sometimes you want the matzah to be perfect, so you'll steamroll everyone to make sure you get the right matzah. That's not what it's about. It's So and this is something that we can everybody, especially religious people, because the more religious you are, the more you care about the minutiae, the more you think it's okay to push people out of the way, which obviously is wrong. So you have to. Obviously, the minute details are important. They're all part of the mitzvah. So you have to try to keep a balance. So let's get into it. Okay. Now that you know what the theme of the class is, let's prove it from the text. So the beginning of the parsha is Eikev. The parsha is called Eikev. And text number 1 says, "V'hoya Eikev tishmun." If you will listen to everything Hashem tells you, Hashem says everything is going to be unbelievable. I'm going to give you all the blessings, and it goes through a whole list of blessings. Now Eikev. Now the word Eikev is a very interesting word because usually you are im shemaya if you will listen. Eikev, in a lot of translation is hearken. It means listen well. It says over here, just like for example, why did Nachmanides says in text 1b, why did Avram get all these blessings? Because it's the same word. Hashem tells Avram after the Akedah, after he was willing to bring up his son on the altar, I'm going to give you all these great blessings because you listened, because you hearkened to my voice. So the same thing is like this. You listen to me, you'll be good, right? You do for me, I do for you. But that's why you're doing the mitzvah. You do the mitzvah, so God, if I put on tefillin today, I get $5. I put on tefillin tomorrow, I get $10. You know, God, it's okay. I have $5 saved up from yesterday, so I don't need to put on tefillin today. I mean, that's the.
It's your bargaining.
Yeah.
It's bargaining with Hashem.
So obviously, it's wrong. You're not doing it for a reward. The reason why we do a mitzvah, the reason why we do whatever we do, is because we are seeking connection to something greater than ourselves. Now, sometimes these methods of connection make sense to us, right? So, for example, if I like you, if, make sure you hit if.
It's a big if.
Exactly. It's an example. The examples don't have to be based on reality. So, if I like you, and I want to have a good relationship with you, so I'm not going to do certain things to you. I'm not going to hit you. I'm not going to speak poorly to you. I'm not going to denigrate you because I want to have a relationship. So I understand those things. So same thing is you want to have a relationship with God. Certain things you got to be respectful. You can't talk negatively about God. And then He asks you to do some things that, our attitude is, what can I do? The object of my love is a finicky kind of guy. He wants me to do these crazy things, but I love him. So, King Solomon says that love causes people to do crazy things that normally regular people wouldn't do. But you love the person, you love your kids, so you do crazy things. You love whatever it is. So God tells us to do crazy things. Sometimes God says, "You love me? I want you to shake a branch and a lemon." It's crazy, I know, but love makes you do crazy things. But the reason the reason for doing the mitzvah isn't to get the reward, is because you want the relationship. That's why. And the Ramchal says this. Look at the Ramchal, Chaim Moshe Luzzatto, very famous in his book Mesilas Yeshar. He says it's appropriate for one to direct all of this text number 2. Page 54. It's appropriate for one to direct all of their intentions solely toward the blessed Creator without any other goals in mind for any action, big or small. The purpose of every action, big or small, should be to draw closer to the divine. That's why you're doing the mitzvah. You're doing the mitzvah to draw close. Now you might ask, so why do I have to shake a branch and a lemon? Why do I got to put black boxes? Why do I got to eat crackers or whatever it is that... I think I played a long time ago. There's a guy in the 80s who took Johnny Cash's song. I think I walked the line, right?
That's one of his songs.
I think because he said, "Because I'm a Jew, I do that too." Is that the same song? I'm not sure. Anyway, he changed it to "Because I'm a Jew, I do that too." And he goes through all these... Once a year I burn my bread. Once a year I wear sneakers with my suit. And he goes through all these. I like to drown my fish in Korean. He has a whole. He has a whole. He has a whole song. It's very funny. But why do we do it? Because Hashem asks it to. Now, a person can say, "I'm going to decide to eat matzah on Rosh Hashanah," and that's going to be a valid connection. It doesn't work that way, because when you want a connection, that it's the object of your love has to agree to, you can't force it upon them.
But it's not against the law to eat matzah on
No,
Rosh Hashanah.
no, meaning, but it's not a holy act. Eating matzah on Pesach is a holy act. It means you have to eat matzah on Pesach.
Yeah, but I make pizza with matzah, with the round. matzah.
Not on the first night of Pesach, you don't.
No, because that I can't use the microwave, so.
No, and also because you have to eat matzah plain. So, but blowing a shofar on Rosh Hashanah is a mitzvah. Blowing shofar any other day,
It's annoying.
Practice.
it's called practice.
She tells me it's annoying.
Right? It's annoying, right? Or like the old joke. The guy walks in and says, where's your clock? So I don't need a clock. So what do you mean? So he says, watch this. He opens the door, blows the shofar. What are you out of your mind? It's 2:00 in the morning. There you go. So, I mean, the purpose of the mitzvah is to connect to the Eibishter. It's to connect to Hashem. Now, so there's two different areas. There's the grand scope of thing, and then there's this specific. And we're going to learn a lot of now with the Maharal Yehuda Loewy of Prague, 16th century scholar. And there's a statue of him in Prague. Any of you been to Prague yet? No? Prague.
I don't think I've been down there, but I think we flew over it once.
All right, so it counts. World travel. So the Maharal is going to explain there's Torah learning, and then there's doing mitzvahs. And he's going to say it like this: Torah learning is macro. Torah learning is not about anything in particular. You can learn anything. In fact, there's certain areas of Torah that have nothing to do with practical application. For example, I mean, Mitzvah Shem will have a base of Mikdash, but we don't have a temple right now. You could learn the laws of the sacrifices. You could learn the laws of, even if there is a temple, the Kohen going into the Holy of Holies. That's nothing to do with us. And then there are certain laws we're going to learn in a few weeks in the Torah. The rebellious son. It's something that can never happen. Or the condemned city, where we wipe out an entire city because they turned to idolatry. Practically speaking, it's impossible to happen. There's a few laws like that. And then there's the mitzvah. You have to do it in that particular way. Let's get into it. Okay. So first of all, we'll begin with the Mishnah. Text number 3. It says, Rabbi Gamliel, the son of Rabbi Yehuda, would say, this is in Perkei Avot, chapter 2. It says, Torah study is great when it's paired with a job, because the toil of both causes sin to be forgotten. If you're busy working and you're busy learning, you never have time to mess up. Ultimately, all Torah study that is not accompanied with work is destined to cease and to cause sin. All right, that's statement number 1. Then he says statement number 2, which seemingly has nothing to do with statement number 1. Statement number 2 says, those who work on behalf of the community and should do so for the sake of heaven, for the merit of the ancestors shall aid them, and the righteousness shall endure forever. And it seems one is talking about Torah study, one part. Statement number 2 is talking about working on behalf of the community. I mean, very nice statements, but why are they in the same halacha? Why are they in the same paragraph? There should be maybe one halacha 1 or ethic code number 1. Torah should be accompanied with work. And number 2, it's good to work on behalf of the community. So the Maharal explained this. If you see on the side who the Maharal is, Maharal was 1525, 1609. He's one of the greatest Kabbalists the Jewish people have had, and that's saying something. Text number 4. I mean, he was so great. Some people say he built a golem, which, again, like Beryl Wine, the historian, says, whether or not he made the golem or not, the fact that it's believable that he did tells you the caliber of the person he was. And he says like this. The reason why the Mishnah puts it together is because like this. Torah is unlike mitzvahs. For when one does a mitzvah, they already engage in something broad. Neither is anything else relevant to it. By contrast, when a person engages in Torah, so when you're shaking the lulav, when you're putting on tefillin, the only thing relevant is your hand, your head, your feet. Let's say a guy has no feet, still can put on tefillin, and all the other mitzvahs are not relevant right now because you're doing that mitzvah. It's very specific. You're occupied in that activity. But when you're learning Torah, they acquire something broad. Intellectual matter is broad and a universal thing, not a specific thing. So let's say, for example, when I want to teach Kalman for Usher. 1 + 1 is 2. I can tell them 1 + 1 is 2, but they don't get it. What do I tell them? Now, how do I get them to understand? I can use apples. I can use stones.
First you have to make sure that's they can count.
They can count.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So you say, okay, 1, what's the next number?
But you're trying to understand the concept, the fact of addition. You're using the apples of the rocks. The apples and the rocks are not the fact. The fact is the 1 + 1 + 2. Yam equals 2. So the intellect, right? And 1 + 1 = 2 is for example, in all languages and all society. That's the same. Well, it should be at least. So
So they can put square roots.
exactly. So the and the Maharal uses an interesting midrash we find in the book of Genesis to prove his point. You remember when Yaakov was running away from his brother Esav, he stopped on Mount Moriah, and he stayed there for the night. He had this dream with the ladder, right? There's a slight difference in grammar there, which is it can't be a mistake. One it says in the beginning it says he took from the stones of the area and he put it around his head. Then later it says he took the stone from under his head. There were stones. Why are there one stone? So look, if you look at text 5b, 5a is just the original text. If you look at text 5b, Rashi quotes that the stones all wanted to be under Yaakov's head. So Hashem made it that they should become all one stone. So the Maharal explains, what does that mean they all wanted to be under his head? What's this lesson here? Again, the literal, whether they became one stone or not, that's not important. If they actually became one stone, a miracle happened. The theme, the Maharal is explaining in text number 6. And he says like this. This is a little heavy, so we'll go through it slowly. We must understand, why did the stones wish for Yaakov to rest his head on them? So, because Yaakov's head housed his soul, and is therefore deserved only one singular item as benefiting any intellectual matter. Intellect relates to all details and specifics in one monolithic way. It doesn't splinter and associate partially with this and partially with that. So a mitzvah, it could be a hand, leg, lip, ears, right? Torah it applies to everything. Intellect applies to everything. If that were to be the case, it would render the intellect divided, something that doesn't exist in the universe of intellect. Facts are facts, regardless of what happens today. Facts are, we talked about this the other day. Facts change. All people want facts to change. Facts are facts. Facts don't change. Alternative facts, right? There's only one hegemony in the world, and so there's only one. That's why the stones were fighting. This is what it means. The stones were fighting, as they were many desperate entities vying to be under his head. For something intellectual, Yaakov's head is associated with unity, not multiplicity. In so much as there were many stones, there were discord. That's because they were physical matter. When it comes to intellect, that's what it means. That's what it means. There's one. So you have here the concept. You had the concept of multiplicity and unity. Unity is God. Multiplicity, not God. So it seems that mitzvahs are because when you're occupied in the mitzvah, you're sort of blocking everything out. So what's better, learning Torah during mitzvahs?
Yes.
It depends.
It depends. So there you go. So for anyone, if we had any rookies, they would say, "Oh, learning Torah is a lot better."
No, I would think doing mitzvahs would be better.
Why?
Well,
Rookie.
because, all right.
Actions speak louder than words.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
Okay, did I back you up?
No, because it seems to me that mitzvahs you're doing as Hashem would like you to do. I mean, sitting and reading is lovely, but you have to put it in practice.
So it's interesting you bring this up. First of all, reading and learning. Learning is not reading.
Well,
So reading, no, I'm saying, because reading, you
Reading
said,
for the purpose of learning.
no, that's not learning.
No.
No, reading means you sit back. Learning means you're, scientifically, Shimon, they back this up, that your brain is activated when you're leaning forward. When you lean back, your brain is accessing memory. When you lean forward, your brain is accessing, like, trying to process information. They back this up scientifically. When you learn, you're hunched over. But that's called learning, not reading. But you're right. Ultimately, Hashem wants us to utilize the material world. But before we get to that, it seems like learning Torah is the best thing in the world, because learning Torah is about the one universal truth, and doing mitzvahs is about this particular thing. I mean, division. Because when you do a mitzvah, you're only doing this. You can't do anything else. Because either you're doing the mitzvah, you're lighting the candle, or you're not lighting the candle. You can't do something in place of it. A mitzvah is very, very specific. You have to do it this way. If you don't do it this way, you're not doing the mitzvah. So automatically, you're cutting everything else out. Meaning there's difference, and you have to choose one. That's a mitzvah, right? Let's see what the Maharal, continue what the Maharal says in text number 7. You see over there, physicality is ultimately fragmented and divided, whereas true unity only exists within the realm of God. So he says in text number 7, he says, we have explained many times in this work, the fragmentation and multiplicity are physical phenomena, whereas where unity is a godly thing. It goes into Kabbalah, and you see here that according to Kabbalah, the world was created with Hey. You have Hashem's name, Yud and Hey and Vav and Hey. A Hey is a broken letter. A Yud is a solid letter. A Vav is a solid letter. A Hey, broken letter. Difference. So basically, to put it in simple terms, the further away you get from God, the more difference there is. Yeah. Does that make sense?
No.
God is one. The closer you are to God, the more oneness there is. The further away you get, the less oneness there is.
Okay. The farther you get away, the more fragmentation there is.
Yeah.
It's greater distance.
Right? So it's kind of like light or sound, right? It goes, it spreads out further. All right. So now, so what do we do mitzvahs for? Why do we even bother doing mitzvahs? Just learn Torah the whole day. Now, obviously, there's a reason for it.
when you talk about mitzvahs, you're talking about the things that we are supposed to do. right?
Commanded to do, yeah.
What about a mitzvah of just helping someone who needs help?
It's not the commandment too. Okay, so one second before. Well,
See, I don't look at it that way.
Okay.
To me, that's just, you do it because you're
okay,
a
well,
good person or
no,
whatever.
no, it doesn't work that way. No. Okay, so well,
But you all stop holding the door for people.
Exactly.
Slam it in your face again.
Exactly. Jew, enter. Gentile, no, okay. No. Okay, so wait. There's two things here. Okay, the word mitzvah doesn't mean good deed. The word mitzvah means commandment.
Okay,
That's number one. Now,
answers that.
there is a commandment. There is a commandment that we have to bring. We have to make a kiddush Hashem, and not God forbid a chilul Hashem. We have to sanctify God's name, set an example, and not God forbid it's desecration. And there's another thing we have in this in last week's parsha or this week's parsha. Sorry, I can't remember. Is that we? No, I can't remember. It was yesterday's Chumash or Shabbos. You have to do what's right and just in the eyes of God, and the Gemara says you have to go beyond the letter of the law.
Okay.
That means if a person needs help, you help them. That's the Torah commands you. The Torah says, uses as an example, if a guy has traveling with his donkey and the donkey is overloaded, you have to help him. What do you mean? You have to do it, but not because you feel good inside. That's not. It doesn't. We don't leave it as arbitrary because you woke up in a no. Let's say you woke up in a bad mood and you didn't have your coffee. You still have to help him. It doesn't make a difference if you're in a good mood.
Just harder.
It doesn't make a difference if the idea of a commandment doesn't mean if you feel like it, you do it.
No, I
Like
understand.
Manish Friedman has a great story. He took to show this point. He wanted to ask his kid to get something for him, and his kid said, "Do I have to?" Yeah, you do. I asked you, so you do it. The question was, do you feel like getting it for me? No. I asked you to do it, so you do it. Now, if you like it, good. You don't like it, also good. You know, like, it's almost like saying, I'll eat kosher as long as the price of milk stays on. No, no. You find a good price? Good. Not also, okay. You know, it's almost like I'll fast on Yom Kippur until I feel hungry. It doesn't work that way. That's the idea of a tzivui. Tzivui means a commandment. There's always going to be, no matter who you are, there's going to be certain mitzvahs that agree with you, and certain mitzvahs that you don't. Let's take last week's parsha. Moshe was the most observant person. God gave one command: you can't travel, you can't cross into the land of Israel. Moshe didn't like it. We see it. Moshe asked multiple times, but God commands. Not only God command you can't go, God told him you can't ask anymore. God told him stop asking. That's what a tzivui is. That's what it really means to be an observant person. You know, when it's not easy, right? Obviously we ask every morning on page, what is it, page 7 or 8 in the Siddur, there's a paragraph that says we ask God 8, and don't bring us to a test. We're not looking for challenges. This isn't Fear Factor or Survivor or whatever it is. I might be dating myself with the reality shows.
American Ninja Warrior.
And then American Ninja Warrior. There you go. Are those shows still on TV?
Yep.
Survivor's still on.
Yeah.
Ninja Warrior is on now.
It's hard to believe people still watch this.
Yeah.
And they're even more popular now because they got an actor's strike and a writer's strike.
And also reality is so messed up, so they don't want to watch fake reality.
Exactly.
They're unscripted, if you believe that. I have this little bridge for sale.
Yeah, exactly.
Just
Okay.
wrestling
Is it in
unscripted.
Brooklyn?
Okay, so
I
Yeah.
bought it last week.
yeah. So what?
But you only
So
bought
what
the
is?
northbound side.
So what is it about a mitzvah that makes it so special? Why do we do a mitzvah? So going back to the beginning of the class, so sometimes we get too caught up in the details. You have to remember that everything we do is about relationship. Everything. Forget taking religion and God out of it. Why do you work? You ask a guy why he works, or a person why he works. Why? Because I work for my family. They have a house, they have food. You do it for the relationship of the family. Everything you do, unless you're just sitting around, I don't know, having a bud. Not really.
Sounds good to me.
So,
But it might affect my blood pressure.
so everything we do, every mitzvah we do, is about relationship. Now, you're right. In theory, maybe you could sit there in your lotus position and I don't know if I'm getting the right meditation and have a exactly, and now you're just showing off.
Fall off the chair.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this is not the chair to do it.
So you might think that a relationship can be however I choose, but Hashem in His great kindness came and said, listen, we all are material beings. So in order to have a relationship, it needs to express itself in a material way. So, for example, let's say you have a guy who doesn't show up for dinner, doesn't talk nicely to his wife, but on an anniversary, he takes him for a nice vacation, a gold bracelet and everything else. There's something wrong, because the action is absent of the meaning. Or you can have a guy who shows up for dinner and everything else, but never does anything special. Hey, it goes both ways, whatever it is. And it's like, yeah, you love me, but I haven't heard, like the old joke. A couple goes to therapy, and the woman tells the therapist, says, he never tells me he loves me. 25 years we're married, never says once he loved me. So The therapist asked the husband, "No, it's true." He says, "Yeah, it's true." So how come? He says, "I told her 25 years ago I loved her. If anything changes, I'll let her know." So the purpose of the mitzvah, is God says, "I love you. I want to spend time with you." So the way to do it is, because we're material beings, the way to do it is it has to find expression in mitzvahs. That's something that Torah lacks in that way. Tanya expands on this at great length. When you're learning Torah, you are the one understanding it, and everybody intellect differs. There's certain things you'll understand better than him. Everyone's intellect goes different ways. But there's the you. You have to understand it. You could be learning the deepest concept, but if you don't understand it, it's not learning. So, for example, Tehillim has this idea that you can just say Tehillim. Even if you don't understand, the very words are so holy and powerful, you just say Tehillim. But you'll never hear someone say, "Oh, did you say Mishnayos? Or did you say Talmud?" You can't say Talmud. You got to learn Talmud. If you don't understand it, you got to go back and do it again. There's nothing saying. You got to learn it. So you are very much present there. But with a mitzvah, this is Hashem's will. He says, I want a connection with you. So I'm going to ask you to do something. It's a direct expression of Hashem's will. So the previous Rebbe expanded upon this a lot. The word mitzvah comes from the Aramaic word to connect. Tzavta. Look at text number 9. The Rebbe explains it. It's a long text. Text number 9, page 63. We're behind in our. Here we go. He said the word mitzvah is related to the Aramaic word tzavta, which means connection. A person who performs a mitzvah forges a connection with the Eibishter, who gives that command. This is the meaning of the teaching of the sages in Pirkei Avos. The reward of a mitzvah is the mitzvah. I mean, the reward of the mitzvah isn't you'll get a Harley or a Rolls Royce or 72 versions. And by the way, you gotta read the Rambam. The Rambam writes, don't be like those idiots who think that the reward is nice clothing and good food and pretty women. And he says, like those crazy people. Tipshim, he calls them. It's very interesting. I wonder what society he was, because the Rambam dwelt among the Christians and the Muslims. So I wonder who he was referring to. But people think of the afterlife. They think, oh, if I do this, then I'm going to get sort of brownie points or spiritual cash in my online account. That's not why. The reason why you do the mitzvah is to connect. That's the reward. The relationship is the reward. It's almost like a guy saying, I buy my wife flowers on Friday. Why? This way, and Sunday morning she makes me breakfast. Sounds terrible, right? But that's how sometimes people treat relationship with God. If I go to synagogue or I do what he says, then I'll have the afterlife and everything else. So basically, what you're saying is you want Sunday morning breakfast, or in a relationship. Guy says, imagine saying I married her because she's very rich. That
could be true.
No, but that's not a reason to get married. But what you're basically saying is, I really want your money, but I can't, so I'll put up with you. So really, God, I want your money, right? Because God has the purse strings, but because you have all the money, I'll put up with you. So you want me to put on the black boxes? I'll put on black boxes. That's not a relationship. The reward for the mitzvah is the mitzvah, meaning it's the connection to the object of your love. A way of analogy, right? This is the famous Hayom Yom. Let's say you have a great scholar, and you have a simple man. This great scholar, he's a genius. Einstein or what's the big guy? Oppenheimer. Is that Oppenheimer? That's the big movie now. Is Oppenheimer the big genius? Einstein was a big genius. I don't know. Anyway.
They were both pretty smart.
Anyway, so
Heisenberg, that's another story.
Eisenberg, Guggenheim, whatever. Right? Yeah, you have a big genius, and then you have a simple.
Heisenberg's theory was
and then you have a Puya. You have a simple man. For a guy, simple man. Now, what are these two guys going to have to talk to each other? Nothing. So this great scholar ignores the simple man, not because the simple man's a bad person or he looks down upon him, because they have no They have no sprach. They have no connection. Nothing to talk with each other, right? But let's say the scholar, the great man, needs something done. So he reaches out to the simple man, and he asks him to do something for him. So automatically, a few things happen. Number one, a relationship is created. Number two, the simple man becomes important or becomes necessary in the eyes of the scholar. And now the simple man feels value because, hey. So not exactly the same, but God is the great scholar here, and we're the idiots. In reality, if you think about it, what does God need from us? There's no connection here. And we're thinking about chocolate cake and Ferraris, which everything is totally garnished and valueless. So really, there should be no connection. If you think about it, what do we have to bring to the table? What is this simple man going to tell the rich man that he doesn't already know? Nothing. He has nothing to offer. But then God decides. The analogy is not perfect because God doesn't need anything, but God decides He wants us to do something for Him. So now we have a connection, and now we're important in His eyes, and now we have a value in and of itself. And this is what the Parsha is telling us. If you listen to God, you listen to the Torah, you're gonna have a relationship. Now, because of the relationship, all these good things happen. So a kid has a good relationship with the parents. So the parents said, "I'll take you to Disney World." The kid doesn't treat the parents well, so in order he should get to Disney World, the kid treats the parent well, has their hearts, because he loves his parents and he wants a good relationship. Now, because they have a good relationship, the parent takes the kid to Disney World or ice cream, whatever it is. So the good things that are promised in the Torah, that's not the reason. That's not the effect. The effect is the relationship. All the good things that a person enjoys because he listens to the Torah, it's all a result or a outcome of a teitzah, a result of the relationship. And this is what the Rebbe writes in text number 10. Kasha Yehudi, Oisek b'limin Torah. But when a Jew learns Torah, so he says, they must invest energy and excited about studying and understanding it. But together with that, they must remember that the purpose of learning Torah is to connect with Hashem. So remember, I told you many times that when we would learn Torah in school, we would always be reminded. You have to say, the Holy Mishnah says, the Holy Gemara says, Zok the Heilige Mishnah, Zok the Heilige Gemara. Why? Because you always have to keep in mind whose Torah you're learning. It's not a subject. It's not a nice topic. You're not doing some armchair reading. Oh no, it's something you're learning. And this is the depth of the Talmudic idea of reciting a bracha before Torah study. Now we know why. And when you get called up to Aliyah, and by the way, everyone has to make this blessing, whether it is shul or whether you get an Aliyah or not, man or woman. When you learn Hashem's Torah, we make it every single day. At page number 9 in the Siddur, Baruch Atah Hashem Lakeinu Melech Haolam, 8. Asher Bachabonu Mikol Amim. Hashem chose us from the nations. V'nasal lanu Torah, and He gave us His Torah. Baruch Atah Hashem. Thank God. He chose us. When you do that, now you're not just learning Torah. You're learning Hashem's Torah. So that gives that infuses the Torah, the learning, with energy, because now you're learning Hashem's Torah. And the same is true with mitzvahs. There are a lot of communities, and this is more commonplace in the Polish and Hungarian Jews. You know, we say L'Shem Yichud before Baruch Shamar. You know, L'Shem Yichud.
I didn't hear the question.
We say L'Shem Yichud before Baruch Shamar. This is on page 30 in the weekday davening. On page what is it? 190, 189. After Hades Ramuna, page 190, we say L'Shem Yichud. We take the two front corners. So in that 2-line sentence is a Kabbalistic line. It's L'Shem Yichud K'Shav B'Richu, for the sake of the unity of the Shekhinah. Why do we say that? Why do we say that? We only say it before Baruch Shamar. There are a lot of communities, Hasidic communities, that say it before every mitzvah, because you have to know why you're doing it. You're not just doing a mitzvah. You're opening up a channel. You're opening up a door to connect to the Eibishter, to connect to Hashem. You have to have the right mindset. The problem is we get distracted, and we don't have the right mindset. So when we do a mitzvah, we're like, oh, fine, let's get it over with. And what more important thing you have to do? The Yankees? What's going on in your life? You know, Jerry Seinfeld has a joke. He's sitting in the back of a cabbie. The guy's, zipping 90 up a one way on bold tires. So I want to put my hand on the shoulder and say, what is going on in your life that's making you drive like this, right? So think about it, right? Texting while driving. Is it that important in the grand scheme of things, right? But think about it. I have to answer the text. Is it really that important? The problem is when we get a chance to do a mitzvah, we lose focus. That's why the Gemara says the only reason why a person doesn't do a mitzvah or doesn't avera is because it's a temporary insanity. Every Jew who doesn't take the opportunity. If I told you, says, here's $1 million, or you have a chance for $1 million, and you're like, nah, I'd say, yeah, Barbara's not feeling well. Something's wrong there, right? And I'd be right to say so.
Hey,
Call an ambulance.
I didn't buy a raffle ticket when I was in Israel because I thought of the tax implications if I should win.
That's certainly flawed logic right there.
Right, exactly. So when we have a chance to do a mitzvah, that is a connection to Hashem. Now, it doesn't mean there is no reward. There is a reward, because automatically, when you're in a relationship, when you're in a good relationship with your spouse, with your parents, with your siblings, automatically good's going to. My brother called me up today. Well, not today, before last week. He needed some help. He's my brother. I love him. He needed some help. So I went to help. He's in New York. His house is here. So yeah, of course there's good, but the good is not the good as we understand it. As this parsha says, the good gives us the ability to do more good. So let's say, for example, I told you, all your expenses paid. Don't worry about it, right? I promise you, next 12 months, no medical bills and everything else. You can sit and learn the whole day, or do whatever you want to do.
Okay.
You like that, huh?
Sure.
Yeah. That's what this parsha says. This parsha says that if you listen to the Torah, Hashem's going to make it more available for you to only embellish and expand that relationship, because all your other distractions will be taken away. So the pleasure of having money and health and good stuff, that's not an end into itself. So if I feel good, I wake up rested, I'm healthy, well fed, I can go to shul, I can learn. I have money in the bank, nothing. The reward isn't the money in the bank, and the reward isn't the good food. It gives us the ability to keep doing good. In other cultures, the reward is the pleasure. That's not the way Judaism looks at it. You'll have pleasure. There is good, and there's physical pleasure, being healthy and materially well off, and there's the spiritual pleasure, which the soul. You see, the Rambam writes over here in text 11a. There's the spiritual pleasure that a soul has at the end of. But like he says in text 11b, a person shouldn't say, "I'm going to do a mitzvah in order that I'll be rewarded." That's not why, right? You don't bring your wife flowers erev Shabbos in order that she makes you breakfast on Sunday. That's not it.
You do it so that she doesn't hit you Friday night.
Right, exactly. You do it to have a place to sleep for tonight.
But you need flour to make pancakes, don't you?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't bring her flowers. She's allergic to it.
You know what I'm saying?
Nasty if
You don't.
flowers.
So you don't do something for the person that you love in your life in order to get something out of it. You do it because you love them. Same thing is, we don't do something for God in order that He should do something for us. No, you love you. You're a Jew, so we're learning Tanya. We're going to start soon. Automatically, you love God. So that means you do things, and because God loves, He'll do things for you. Think God doesn't know? Well, you think your wife doesn't know that you need to eat on Sunday morning? Think God doesn't know you need health, whatever it is? He knows. He knows you, right? You're in a connection. You're in a relationship, and if you're in a relationship with somebody, obviously they know something about you, a little bit, right? God knows exactly what you need. Don't worry, He'll take care of you. But the wrong way And let me tell you, if you're in a relationship and you're only doing it so you can get something out of it, the relationship's going to fall apart. People are not stupid. People can see when you're doing something because you like them, or because you have interest in helping them, or you're doing it just to advance your self-advancement. Isn't there a word for it? I don't know. Right? We all come. God's not stupid. He knows when you're using him. The way to be a true relationship is you do it because Hashem said. And yeah, of course he'll do good. It'll be good for you. So this is what we coming back to the end. We spoke about getting overwhelmed by details, or why some people say, "Oh, why does God care about all these details?" That's not what it is. It's not what it is. God wants a relationship with you, and just like, for example, a father with a family at home, so everything he does the entire day is to support his family. So you ask him, why do you wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning? I got to go to work. Why? For your family. And why do you spend? So everything he's doing, what? So you can support his family. Everything you're doing to support your family? Yeah. My family is very important to me. So I dedicate all my time so my family is secure. So a person is in a healthy relationship with his Creator. Yeah. So everything he does is to serve that end. So if, let's say, a person would say, if wife calls him, 8 o'clock, sorry, happy hour, I don't know you. Happy hour is over at 9 o'clock, so then I'm your husband again. Try that. It doesn't work, because no such thing. When you're in a relationship with somebody, it's all consuming. Yeah, and you do a bunch of different things. You'll take out the garbage and you'll do this, and that's what a relationship means. So you always have to keep your mind on why it is you're doing what you're doing. And that's why it's very important, and we learn on Shabbos morning. Why did in Chabad you always learn before davening? Shachris. Why is it? Because otherwise, how do you just walk in and daven? Who are you davening to? You have no relationship with the guy. Just walk in, because you grew up in a religious household, you can say a lot of words at once. So you're happy you're able to say a bunch of pages. And the Baal Shem Tov said the guy who says 2 lines with actual intent is better than the person who could read 800 pages. And religious people were like, what are you talking about? How can you say that? This guy is ignoramus, all he did was 2 lines, and he's better than my 500 pages? Yeah, because he's serving God. You're
reading.
You're reading. I mean, you're serving. You're serving exactly. So whenever we get overwhelmed, you always have to think about. Sometimes, and let me tell you, and the month of Tishrei is coming, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur and Sukkot and Simchas Torah, and there's a lot going on, and a lot of details. Sometimes you're like, the heck with it. But you always have to keep in mind who it is that we're doing it for. We're not doing it for a guy. A guy can't just quit his job. He has to provide for his family. And let's finish off with text number 12, page 70. And the Rebbe says like this: Habir b'zeh. An explanation is like this, in simple human terms. When a person isn't well aware of their purpose in life, which in our case is to serve God, they cannot truly at peace. When a person has purpose, they're relaxed. After all, the fluctuations of time and space, along with the millions of tiny details in a person's life, will cause them to constantly feel splintered and torn apart. But when a person appreciates the purpose and goal that lies within all the details, it brings the inner peace that transcends the details and fluctuations of life. Subsequently, it brings us to a self-enhancement. This is obvious. When a person is at peace and inner existential peace, it enhances their life. To add, such peace doesn't only bring personal fulfillment, it also enhances everything we do, bringing a greater success. So a well-run company always keeps in mind its mission statement. You always have to know what exactly you're doing here. The moment you get distracted, your company's falling apart. You always have to keep in mind. bringing the discussion back to Torah. When Hashem gave the Torah to the Jewish people, the purpose of creation was finally exposed. And the Jewish people should receive the Torah and then improve the entire world by encouraging humanity to observe the 7 laws, thereby transforming the world into a home for God. That's it. The beautiful thing, it talks about, in God's kindness, He didn't leave us in the dark to figure out what it's all about. It's also, God didn't give us IKEA instructions. You're cursing, you're saying, I don't get it. Nothing makes sense. And you get very frustrated. Imagine they gave you instructions, everything spelled out. Lego instructions, very step by step. People enjoy building Lego. It takes time. There's big things now. You could build a big car. Actually, I took one of my kids to visit like a doctor or something, and he had like a Porsche. Because, beautiful Lego. But no, you can't touch that car. But when you have instructions and you have purpose and you have a goal, you're a lot more relaxed. Okay, key points. Torah implies that a life of Torah study and mitzvah observance is for the sake of something. Intellect is broad and global, it's indivisible. In general, a spiritual something is, the more singular and united it is. Multiplicity and fragmentation are symptoms of physicality. That's the definition of physical composition. In an intellectual pursuit, Torah is broader and grander than a mitzvah, which is specific physical action. However, but underneath the specifics, every mitzvah is a larger picture, which is a direct connection. I would add the word direct connection. In truth, every mitzvah of all of Judaism is for the sake of something. And that is, in this time of the relationship, this is what God demands of you. This connection to Hashem is a singular idea and force that binds all the disparate elements of life together, offering those who appreciate this truth tremendous existential peace. When you have direction in life, you're at peace. You're not worried. Questions? Comments?
Yeah, the next chapter is a very old picture.
Very close the.
You can tell it's
All right,
an old
so-
picture. It's not too crowded. There's no chairs there. There's no business set up.
It's a little red box. Doesn't that mean it wasn't turned on?
Uh-oh.
No, that's the little red dot. You hit that.
Right, I didn't hit it yet.